Welcome back to the Real Estate 401k Show. I'm your host, Mike Weinstein, alongside Justin Frederick and Ryan Gerdes at the end. I've been doing a little posting on some of our podcasts, and so I've watched a few seconds of some of them. You guys sound good.
Well, thank you.
You guys sound somewhat intelligent.
Well, we probably show you up.
Try.
As I always tell the people, I'm just the eye candy. Well, if you have a Airbnb in the city of Scottsdale and you are just fed up, you might want to think about doing something about it, maybe just getting rid of it. All you have to do is text the word Scottsdale to 623-AZ-RECON. That's Scottsdale to 623-AZ-RECON. Well, it's no mystery by now that the city of Scottsdale, they're a little bit sensitive about Airbnbs. I live in Scottsdale, so apparently we're a little sensitive to a little noise, a little enjoyment. And a few years ago when Governor Ducey was governor of the great state of Arizona, he issued I don't know if it was an executive order or what it is, but it prohibits any city or municipality from prohibiting people from having Airbnbs and short-term rentals. So a city can't come together and just outright ban them. Doesn't mean that HOAs can't. So we need to be very clear on that. And so the city of Scottsdale, Ryan, has just been on this tear to just make it as difficult as possible for people running Airbnbs and short-term rentals in the city of Scottsdale. And as a matter of fact, the city council for Scottsdale has approved unanimously 3 new rules. And one of them will make anyone who promotes a party that grows out of control at a short-term rental the responsible party under the city code. And this will help people hold the correct people responsible for these parties, meaning the Airbnb owners and the people throwing the parties. And then the second will give Scottsdale Police the right to remove these people from your Airbnb. And then the third one, I don't have a problem with it, but the third one is prohibiting minors from renting a short term. I do not want my 16-year-old son or my 15-year-old son renting my Airbnb and so forth.
I don't even think, can you
Well,
rent on Airbnb?
they must have been able to. I mean, this is...
You probably could do off-market,
Got it.
something like that. I don't think you can do it actually through VRBO and Airbnb, but there are ways.
Yeah, this is going to sound kind of, I don't know, bougie of me to say, but it's been a long time since I've personally set up one of our Airbnb accounts because we usually have someone from our team do it. But I thought that one of the things on there was some age restrictions, and I don't remember if it was 21, and then making it that they have to be 25 or. Like I said, I could be butchering it, but yeah, I can't imagine that they would allow you to, some 15-year-old to just jump on there and, hey, I'm going to rent this home.
But
in
theoretically
Scottsdale.
on Craigslist, I could rent it out to a minor
Fair.
if I wanted to.
Yeah.
Guaranteed when I was in high school, I would have tried to do that.
Oh, for sure.
Guaranteed.
And guaranteed you wouldn't want to be renting it to, Justin, not only in high
Guaranteed.
school, but now.
Yeah.
Well, no, come on.
we're all sitting around because my daughter's getting ready to graduate last weekend, and one of the questions was, let's tell your favorite story from high school. And so everyone went around and told their fun little story from high school. And then when it came up to me, they said, Ryan, we don't want to hear your story. We're skipping you. And it's probably because I would have done some dumb shit like this,
Right.
like renting an Airbnb.
That's a round of Uno. Just throw down the skip card.
Yeah, skip. So I honestly, I don't blame them because there are some people that are mismanaging their properties and that they are just, haphazardly like, oh, you're going to give me money? Cool. Yeah, go ahead and here's the keys for the next 3 days and, have a ball. So, I mean, on one front, I understand that. The other front, it's like, hey, if they're over there doing noise complaints, it doesn't matter whether or not they're at a hotel or if they're at an Airbnb. Go over there and remove them. And like, just like if you are at a hotel, if there's some, excessive noise and it was bothering the neighbors, then the police would go over to the hotel and they would say, hey, either manage your shit or we're going to.
Right.
And so I don't see how this is any different because what people are doing, what we are doing is we are approaching residential real estate and making a business out of it. So it's kind of crossing that Venn diagram of commercial/residential. So
I think it's the intent that bothers me is the city of Scottsdale just has a has an issue with short-term rentals. Governor Ducey got involved and said, no, you couldn't prohibit them. If the city of Scottsdale could, they would. They would make it a citywide ban. And so for me, this is just in part a way of them trying to make it as difficult. To me, it has nothing to do with noise. It has nothing to do with the neighbors. It has everything to do with we can't get our way because of what Governor Ducey did. So we are going to make it as difficult as possible.
Let's grab
We're
every
finding
straw we
loopholes.
can.
Yeah.
That's my problem with this.
But what I see here, though, is also a way to help out long-term rentals as well. The second, it was Scottsdale Police has the right to remove any non-residents from a property after a party has been declared a nuisance. I mean, so if you had a long-term rental and maybe they're partying at your long-term rental, hey, this rule right here will allow you to.
But define nuisance. At what point? What's the legal? And I know that you guys don't know the answer, and I don't know the answer. But what is that legal definition of nuisance? Is that just the opinion of the police officer, the opinion of the neighbors?
I think that I don't know what the number is, but I think that at the barrier or the boundary of the property, if it reaches 2 decibels or higher, I think it's 2. I could be wrong, but I think it's 2 decibels or higher. That's considered noise pollution, and if it's caused by it's funny because it's perfectly fine for the city to put a busy road right next to a home and have semi trucks and ambulances driving down, causing all kinds of noise, but whenever it's inflicted by any of the residents, then now all of a sudden it's a problem. So I mean,
Now, when we first started launching our Airbnbs, I believe that there were devices that, and this is what I would recommend these owners do, devices where you can record the decibel level. And I would put these throughout the yard, and I don't know whether it records the data. I would assume that it would. And so therefore, if the police come and say this is a noise nuisance, at least you have some sort of data to say, hey, listen, no.
I'm managing this thing.
I'm not only managing this thing, but it did not reach 2 decibels.
Right. Yeah. And honestly, for me, on our properties, if there was a big, huge raging party at one of our properties, I call the damn police on
yourself. This is a nuisance.
yeah. Like, I don't want to piss off the neighbors either, right?
Yeah.
Like I want to make sure that we have a friendly neighbor policy because, I mean, I want them to have privacy and not have to deal with that. Just like I wouldn't want to deal with that. Now, sometimes they're a little overzealous and like want to call in these things at like 8, 9 o'clock at night, and it's like, well, no, I mean you have till 10. Right, because those are the quiet hours. What is it, from 10 to 7? You're not allowed to make racket.
I don't know. I'm in bed by 9, and so it's not an issue at my house.
Do you drink warm milk right before you go to bed at 9 too?
With a sippy cup.
Metamucil. Now, Justin, you had a great idea with this, using this and leveraging this. If you got a squatter, because Governor Hobbs vetoed a bill to say that we couldn't just have police come and remove squatters. So if I've got a squatter illegally living in my house, I might hire some people to go down and throw a party in the front yard and then call on myself.
Yeah. And then they're removing everybody that's a non-resident. Here you go. Maybe you leave some air horns at the door for the guy.
Ryan's like, how come I didn't think of that?
So no, it makes me think of something because this is on topic but a little off topic. There's this convenience store close to my house actually because there's a light rail right there. And they have a bunch of vagrants that are just kind of loitering, and everyone's sick of it because they leave garbage behind. There's all kinds of different fun stuff going on over there. So what Circle K has done is they put a loudspeaker up high and they blare classical music.
That's great.
I'm not hating it.
Yeah,
I'm not angry.
Yeah, because no one wants to listen to classical music apparently in the homeless community.
And then every 30 minutes they have sirens going through the loudspeaker, right? All right. Well, if you are managing an Airbnb or a short-term rental, whether it's in the city of Scottsdale or in a different part of the great state of Arizona, and you have questions in managing it and managing noise and managing parties and managing guests, and you want to get our insight, all you got to do is text the word Scottsdale to 623-AZ-RECON. That's Scottsdale to 623-AZ-RECON. All right, Ryan, let's just talk, you guys, let's just talk about the owners of short-term rentals that are just kind of fed up with it, may not be making the money that they anticipated, not wanting to deal with the city of Scottsdale and the police, and it's just become an overall headache. What's the exit strategy?
Ooh, well, so Airbnb and VRBO and those platforms have put into place some checks and balances so that you cannot sell the business. So unfortunately, if you have, if all 5-star ratings and 500 reviews, unfortunately, you will be unable to monetize that. Unless you set it up completely independent of every other short-term rental that you have, and it has its own unique username, its own unique password, then there might be an ability for you to actually just say, hey, look, here's the username and password. I'm transferring everything over. We're going to change the EIN or the social security number over so that all payments are now going from me to you. But if you're running a business on a large scale, sometimes people are having trouble making that effective means of operation, because every single time you want to jump from one property and manage it to the next one, you have to log out, log back in with a new one, and we're in such a automated digital age where we want to be able to click one button and have it happen to everything across the board. So, unfortunately, if you don't have your system set up that way, then you're going to have to dissolve the account entirely, and at that point, you can only sell just the real estate, not the business along with it. Now, you can sell the furnishings, and you can pass on some of that stuff because other new guests might say, oh, you know what, I recognize that one. Different host, different reviews, but I remember the home and we enjoyed our stay. So you'll be able to get some of that, I don't know, whatever you would call it, that trickle type of audience, that leftover rollover audience. But other than that, you're going to have to cancel any future guests if you have any future guests that are scheduled, and then clear it out and then sell it just like you would any other piece of real estate. The good news is most short-term rentals, they're properly staged. They're welcoming. So you can usually get some good traffic through there due to the fact that you have some attractive showability to it.
And you would need really good accounting though as well, because you're going to have two options. I'm going to either just sell the piece of real estate and possibly sell the furnishings within it, or I'm going to try to sell it as a business. And what I mean by that, selling it to somebody who wants to buy it and run a short-term rental out of it. And
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and that's the first thing that they're going to ask for. Well, how's it been performing? What does the accounting look like? What do the numbers look like?
Mm-hmm. And Airbnb does a pretty good job of giving you all the gross revenues and whatnot. But they're not going to have any incidentals. They're not going to have, we worked out a little something because maybe the hot tub wasn't heating, and so I gave them a little incentive on top of that, and maybe a $500 gift certificate. So those are all going to be additional accounting that you're going to have spreadsheeted out. But every single business, the first question that they're asked is going to be, well, let me see your books. What's your P&Ls? What's your profit and losses? And how has this thing been performing? And or how long did it take for you to ramp this thing up? Because in short-term rentals, I set the expectation with all of our investors that this is an 18-month ramp up. It's not like a long-term rental where you can buy it and say, hey, look, the market dictates that you can get $5,000 a month for this place, and it should only take you 15 days in order to find a tenant for that. It's not the same. So when you convert it over to short-term, there's going to be a ramp up. You're going to have to start establishing reputation, and sometimes it can take that 18 months before you start to see the thing go in full motion. So just when you're looking at those numbers, you might use different platforms like Rabu or AirDNA or some of those analytical companies that are going to give you numbers, but you have to take it with a grain of salt. You have to know that those are the peak numbers of what it can do after it's been on the market a while and properly managed and so on and so forth. So just understand what the numbers are actually saying.
And Justin, how do you approach value, if you do, and I'll let either one of you jump in, approach the value of the furniture and the furnishings, and how do you market that? And I know that the furnishings would not necessarily, if you are going to finance the furnishings, it can't be itemized in the purchase contract as furnishings, but then you've got to find a price that it would appraise at.
So, I mean, I feel like this is a you guys question because with
Well,
me,
you
I wanted to
look
have
you look
zero
left out,
value.
and I felt
Yeah,
bad. I
well,
was trying to
hey,
find a
I-
low-hanging question that you could jump in on.
I mean, obviously, there's a value to it, especially because you got to furnish the property. But Ryan, jump in. Talk about that.
I feel like you're lucky to get half. If you can get half, so if you
I feel like you're really lucky to get half.
yeah, and I'm only talking about like the heavy furniture, not the forks and knives and the the little decor in there. I'm talking like the sofas and the beds and good luck getting any money for mattresses. No one's going to buy a used mattress. So if you can get half, you're doing great. And usually I'm looking for 30%.
Yeah, and I would say it also would just depend on how old the stuff is, and what it looks like. I mean, you and I, we've all three of us, we've rented Airbnbs, and we walk in and that furniture ain't worth crap.
Yeah. So age and the miles.
Age and the miles.
So if you have a lot of parties there, like over there in Scottsdale, then they might be charging you for dump fees rather than actually paying you for furniture.
Yeah, and then what drives me nuts, my last thing, and this is just a personal pet peeve of mine, is there are certain neighborhoods where all the neighbors have put these signs, not homes, not hotels, and this stuff, and it particularly bugs me because I have that right around the corner from my house, because the cluster of homes right around the corner from my house are not in an HOA. And it drives me nuts because I appreciate what the message and what they're trying to do, but it's impacting my neighborhood. My neighborhood looks like a political hotspot with all of these signs, and so their motivation is to keep guests from having a good time for Airbnb around the corner. But when I drive home, I got to drive past it. When my friends come to my house, I got to field questions. It's a little selfish.
So I understand the parties. I don't understand that because every single one of our investors that has bought a property in Scottsdale for a short-term rental, they're dumping coin into these homes.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing full remodels, most of them, and they're making them look
They're helping the neighborhood.
palatial.
Yeah.
And then they're going to go over there and bitch about the fact that they're over there upping the value of the real estate in the neighborhood because eventually they're going to sell them, and then they're going to sell them at top dollar, and then guess what just happened to the value of your property? I just think it's short-sighted.
Well, and may or may not have happened. At one point, some of those signs may have ended up in my teenager's bedroom wall. I neither confirm nor deny, but if you are running a short-term rental and have questions about efficiently setting it up, managing it, or looking for an effective exit strategy, we'd love to sit down and chat with you. All you have to do is text the word Scottsdale to 623-AZ-RECON. That's Scottsdale to 623-AZ-RECON.